everybody, today I'm going to be doing a review for BH Cosmetics 3rd edition 120 eyeshadow colors palette. Looks like this, and a whole bunch of colors on the back. Let's get started. So I purchased this palette a couple months ago, I think it was back in January, and I ordered it from the website. The price of the palette tends to vary because they have a lot of promotions. Matter of fact, the day that I bought mine, a couple days after that, it ended up being cheaper, so I kind of overpaid for mine. But right now on the website, it is $15.95, and again, you get 120 colors, so it's a really good deal. So I'm not necessarily into a lot of makeup. I don't really wear a lot of color. Today I'm rocking a little bit of red on my lips, but I don't really venture out too much. So I wanted to get a palette that would kind of encourage me to try more color, and I don't really try a lot of colors still. But nonetheless, it is good for me to have the colors if I do decide to wear them. So this company in particular is not necessarily like organic or anything. So the ingredients, I'll read a couple of them here. The first one is talc, the second one is mica, mineral oil, kaolin, titanium dioxide, are some parabens in here, so not the best ingredients for, you know, your skin and stuff like that. I do have allergies, so the talc in here can sometimes irritate that a little bit. I have an allergy to dust, and apparently I react to some powders and stuff. So the reason why I chose this palette in particular is because, again, I'm a very like neutral girl, so I kind of go for colors that are not too out there. I don't like a lot of shimmer, and this palette is mostly matte and satin finishes. There is some shimmer to some of the colors, but it's not like out there. So the palette looks like this up close. Okay. It's got the logo down here, 3rd edition. And when you open it up, you have the colors here. I'm gonna try not to drop this. But this is the first layer, and it comes with like a little film on top. And the second one, it's kind of hard to get this out. Over here is where you kind of lift it up. But that's the first palette. And the second one looks like this. So this is what really drew me in, obviously. Again, these colors are a lot more everyday versus the first section. Some really nice purples in here, some bronze colors. Nice. It has a mirror here, and y'all can see my phone and all the stuff behind it. Okay, my setup ain't all that great. It would be a lot easier to handle the palette if they both were kind of like placed inside the compact instead of having the mirror there. So let's talk about swatches. So this first palette, the brighter one, is really pretty. I mean, these colors are gorgeous. Now, when you swatch them, look at me going after purple. It's very vibrant on my fingers. But when I apply them to my eyes, they're not necessarily as pigmented. So I'm not sure what that's about. I can't seem to get the color to show up as vibrant as it does here on my eyes when I apply them dry. So I like to use these palettes damp. If you've seen some of my other videos, I've mentioned that I prefer to use my eyeshadows damp anyways, because I like the finish better, and it also stays longer on my eyes. So this shows up really nice on my arm. But again, when I apply them to my eyes, maybe I need new brushes or something, I don't know. They're just not as pigmented. So I'm gonna swatch a couple more. Let's do this orange bronze color. Looks like that. It's really nice. And you can see, like, it was pigmented on my finger, but then like, there's really kind of like no color. Let's go after this neon green. Really bright there. And again, it's really not showing up, but it's so bright on my fingers. I'm gonna try that orange again, and I'm gonna wet my fingertip this time. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, so there's the orange. And again, it's still very light. There was the first orange swatch, and there's the second one. But it's not as bright as it is on my fingertips. Now, for me personally, I actually am fine with the color amount that's there because, again, I kind of am very subtle when I wear colors because my eyes are so big. I just feel like weird whenever I wear bright colors and, you know, a lot of pigment. So I'm actually cool with that. But, you know, this ain't gonna cut it. This is red. Very red. Let's see how that shows up here. So it's looking like some of the colors are more pigmented than the others. The purple one that kind of played me a little bit in the beginning is more vibrant than these here. And then the red is very pigmented. So this one will probably show up, you know, if I use them on my eyes. I'm not sure when I'm going to wear that color. I'll say that the colors in the palette are pretty hit and miss depending on which shades you choose. Let's move on to the second palette, which is like my favorite. I love these shades so much. I am wearing 2 colors from this side and 1 from the other. Today I'm rocking this it looks brown here, but it doesn't really show up brown. Okay. And then I'm wearing this shade here. I'm also wearing this shade at the top. So I guess I brought up another point. Some of the shades in this palette are not necessarily true to color. So I would choose a shade like this. And it's like a taupey color. But on my eyes, it kind of takes on like kind of a silverish purplish color. So, you know, it's a little bit frustrating when you're going for a color that you think you're getting and then it's kind of different. Some of the colors show up lighter than they look in the palette and some show up darker. So I will say that I absolutely think that this palette is just sexy, y'all. For real. These colors are just gorgeous when you get the combination right. They are just gorgeous on the eyes. I'm still working on which shades go with which, but again, the colors themselves are very sexy. They're very sophisticated. Again, they're not too in your face. So whenever I bust this palette out, y'all, I'll be feeling like a whole lot of woman. Okay? Stop goofing off. I'm going to swatch this blue down here. Okay, it's really pretty. This has like some shimmer in it. It's like a black gunmetal color. It's really nice. That's really pigmented, actually. And some of these lighter ones up here look like that. So you can see this is that first blue right there. And again, it's really not pigmented at all. But then the black or gunmetal color is really pigmented. And then the beige nude color, I mean, you can barely see that. Here's a really pretty teal. Okay. Now I'm going to try that wet. Put my finger a little bit. And actually when you wet it, it turns darker. So it doesn't even look the same. Look at that. It's like dark green. That's still really pretty and really sexy. But it's completely different than that. On my arm, that swatch actually looks blue now. Instead of kind of teal green or emerald green, it's like blue. All right, so I think that this palette is a good starter palette. I do not think that it's like the world's best palette because again, the colors are hit or miss and some of them just don't show up very vibrant at all or very pigmented at all. But I do like the colors in here, if that makes sense. So I'm actually going to give the palette a 3 out of 5. The colors in the palette do wear off quite easily, so you'll probably have more success if you use it damp or if you apply a primer prior to putting them on your eyes. If you do choose to use a primer instead of using them damp, you probably are going to have to work kind of hard to get the color to cover the primer, especially if it's like a lighter color primer. So it's going to take a little bit of work to get them to blend. For me personally, I have oily skin, so even when I use these wet, I make sure that I'm not going anywhere for a long period of time because they do eventually crease on me. But primer does help that out a lot. Overall, I'm glad I purchased the palette because again, it gives me some options. Okay, so that's my review for the 3rd edition 120 color palette from BH Cosmetics. If you've tried this palette, let me know how you like it. And I hope this video was helpful. I will see you very soon in another one. Take care.